Originally, I didn't record any notes about this scene from Bite the Bullet, which is the Gene Hackman, wonderful actor, telling the story of his ride up the San Juan Hill. But let me just give you a little bit of, if you're not interested in the background, that's fine. If you are, I'll give you a couple minutes. The basically there's an official narrative, which is what he tells right away to the Candice Bergen character, who has confessed the truth, that she has worked as a prostitute, and she's a very level, and interesting and believable character, likable character. And so he is inclined to level with her. But first he tells the official story. It's like, no, we rode up the San Juan Hill, and, we charged up the San Juan Hill. And the charge up the San Juan Hill is the Americans fighting the Spanish for the possession of Cuba. And they will win the possession of Cuba eventually and hold it until 1957, I think it is, when Batista falls and to Fidel Castro and the revolution, and the revolutionaries take over, and Cuba becomes a communist country, and quite a remarkable project in humanitarian living. However, that's another whole story. But so there's the official narrative, which is what he tells her. And then he stops, and you can see him, spin his reins, because he's like, and he rides back, and he says, no, it wasn't like that. And then he tells what actually happened, and how the only person who actually had a horse, because the charge up the San Juan Hill is famous, and it is used and invoked in the same way that the Alamo is invoked in Texas, in the same way that the flag raising on Iwo Jima is invoked, Bastogne, the holding of Bastogne, a whole bunch of famous sort of moments in military history. So you get the point. But he's got a different narrative. He's got the survivor's narrative, and he feels he owes her that, and it's very complex, because it actually involves the heroism of somebody who refuses to be a victim. His wife, who is a Cuban rebel, basically, who is fighting the Spanish, and the Americans join the Cubans fighting the Spanish, right, to free Cuba. That's the idea. And she gets killed because she will not back down. So basically, he says she was the moral one. She knew what to do, and they didn't know what to do. The one person who essentially took part in what we will now call American jingoism is Colonel Teddy, and that's Colonel Teddy Roosevelt. And Roosevelt who is a cousin to FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who will be a 4-term president, the only 4-term president in the history of the United States. And it's Roosevelt's presidency which will bring about the two-term rule, so that nobody is in office more than 2 terms. Up to that point, you could actually serve as many terms as you could be elected. And Roosevelt just kept being elected. Even when he was about to die, he was elected for a 4th term and dies very soon into the 4th term because he's very ill. So, but this is Colonel Teddy Roosevelt, who is the cousin, obviously older, and he is president in 1902, I think he's elected. And he's elected partly because of his reputation of being the hero of San Juan Hill, and he charges up San Juan Hill, and he apparently is fearless. And these are the so-called Rough Riders, and the Rough Riders then become a force in Texas for justice, and so there's all kinds of stories made about the Rough Riders. So this is a very famous war story, and it normally serves the purpose of reinforcing American mythology about how great American exceptionalism, basically, and how great Americans are, and how wonderful, and the Gene Hackman character puts a line through that. It's like, no, that's not how it was.